Like you said, it was you worked on that play for over 15 months in Toronto. How was it to bring that to life? How was that process? Was it an easy process? Was it like a hard process?
Yeah, I was still in university when we were writing the show for performance in university, and then a kind of businessman investor just said, "Look, this should be a big hit. I'll bankroll your whole musical. Just go get a theater, go crazy." So it was very easy in that way. Now, having spent since then almost 30 years in theater, I know how lucky, how fortunate I was to have that. I know how hard it is to get a show up. At the time, I thought, wow, show business is a lot easier than I thought. Very dumb. But, that's a 15-month long run. A Greek comedy, who would think? That was sort of the peak of my life. It's been downhill since then. It's rakugo. Yeah, it's tough. It's a Japanese word. It's rakugo. And rakugo is a 400-year tradition of Japanese comic storytelling. And the stories have been passed down from master to apprentice through the generations up into the present day.
Well, that was kind of what led into that is about what drew you into it, like you said, via the Greeks to the Japanese.
Yeah, so at the time I first saw rakugo, this particular brand of storytelling, I had been in Japan for about 5 years. And I could speak some Japanese. And when I first saw it, there was all these Japanese decorations, like the lanterns and the storytellers wearing a kimono, kneeling on a cushion. There's the shamisen music to accompany the entrance and the taiko drums. And then does a little bit of a stand-up comedy routine, makes the audience laugh for an introduction, and then goes into this story. Turn your head to the left, you're playing one character. Turn your head to the right, you're playing another character. And these stories have been passed down through the generations. And so it had Japanese culture in it. It had ancient culture. It had comedy. It had theatricality. So basically everything I had ever loved or been interested in my entire life was focused into this one art form. So it spoke to me.
Well, again, like I said, I'd watched a few of your things, and now, how are you excited to do an off-Broadway show that now got an extension till April?
It's incredible. So yeah, we ran for 4 months, and we were supposed to close last week, and then the show got extended to the end of April. So now it's going to be 8 months. Yeah. Well, who knows? We might just compete with Cats. I might be there for 20 years. In which case, I'll have to come to Ohayocon every year from now on. Yeah, to be performing, on Broadway is just a dream come true. Obviously, that's the goal. That's the aim. So I'm in heaven right now. Yeah. And the audiences in New York are incredible. Audiences across the United States are incredible. People are so interested, so in tune to live theater and seeing something they've never seen before, seeing something new. So it's been fantastic to kind of spread this real gem of Japanese culture here in the United States.
So what does it mean for you to bring your, obviously, this type of storytelling to not just, on Broadway, but also do these conventions, like you said, you're going to do Anime NYC, you're going to do Anime Next, and you're here at Ohayocon this year. So how's it going to be for you to bring that out to more people around the world?
That's incredible. So the people who are in their their costumes with the cosplay and who are attending these events, I think everyone is super interested, obviously, in the anime world, but I find them so tuned in and interested and curious about all things Japanese. So I'm not really related to anime per se in that way. This is, it's a much older tradition. However, the audiences are incredible. And the first time I did one is a few years ago out in Los Angeles. And I was afraid because, usually I'm the guy that stands out, right? I don't stand out at all in these places, right? And then people come up to you and say, hey, nice costume. It's not really a costume, right? This is for the normal wear, right? Who are you supposed to be? No, I'm not supposed to be anybody. I'm me, right? So funny, but then I got to perform, and really, it's the best audiences around. They're so in tune. They when they laugh. They're here to have fun, and they're in the spirit of it as well. So it's not I feel like we're part of a real unit. It's not performer and audience. It's us. Yeah.
It's the black box experience for performing.
It's so much that. And in rakugo, to differentiate from North American theater or European theater, with rakugo in the traditional Yosei theater, you leave the lights on. Right. You see the audience sees each other. It's very much that kind of thing. So performing here at like Ohayocon, etc., it's really partly that kind of experience too. It's like everybody's looking at everybody, and we're all in this together. Yeah.
So again, it also says in your bio that you're one of only one of two people in the entire world that's a Westerner to ever achieve this honor of bringing this style of storytelling to the world. How does it make you feel, only being one of two people ever to be allowed to do this?
You know, it's a great honor. It's a great privilege. The first one, his name was Henry Black, and he became Kairakute Buraku, and he was around 100 years ago. He passed away in 1923, the same year as the earthquake in Tokyo. And I was the second. Now there are two more foreigners under apprenticeship now, so there's more coming. That's why I had to get to Broadway quick. They're snapping at my heels, right? Got to get famous. Got to get a Netflix special as soon as possible, right? Otherwise, I'll be taken over. But it's wonderful. I mean, there are 800 professional storytellers in Japan. 800 people that say, I am a rakugo storyteller. That's my job. I think it's the only country that has a kind of organized storytelling tradition that goes back centuries. Of that magnitude, right? And that organization is still going. If in terms of number of storytellers, it's more popular than ever. I think in the Edo period they had many more dedicated theaters, but as far as actual number of storytellers, it's more popular than ever. It's just growing and growing. More and more women are doing it because traditionally a men's world, but now no. I think there's out of the 800, I think there's 50 or 60 women now, and more every year. So that'll. I'm hoping that rakugo and that world will become like the sumo world in 10 or 20 years. All the best ones will be foreigners. My Japanese friends are not going to like that.
Now, again, the process of becoming one is that you have to live with this master, and you have to learn from him, but you also do chores for him. How different, like when you think of a Western way of learning something, yes, it's an apprenticeship. You live on your own. You still have to pay. But this is, you're taking care of him at the same time he's teaching you. Absolutely. So how would you wrap your head around it? How did you wrap your head around it when you were told, hey, this is what you're doing, is you're going to live here and do my menial chores?
Menial chores every day, yeah. Yeah, I went to my master's. He had a dorm for us, so we didn't live directly with, although traditionally you live with the master. You're very right. And it's the same thing, really. In the dorm, he could call at 1 o'clock in the morning and say, Sunshine, I can't find my glasses, get over here. And if you had alcohol in your breath, you get in a lot of trouble. And no drinking, no smoking, no going on dates. You better get to, so you're basically on that leash. It's indentured servitude for 3 years, not 1 day off. Do the laundry, do the cleaning, do the cooking, menial chores. It's a very, very special experience. And I'll say, like you said, in the West, perhaps you pay some money to get violin lessons. You see the master 2-3 times a week for an hour. They teach you the skills. But here, they're not teaching you for the most part. You're watching and learning. But I was with a rakugo master from morning to night every day for 3 years. And so you learn not just the skills to tell the stories, not just some of the history, but you learn a lifestyle. You see, how does the master behave when he's greeting his fans, for example? And the level of self-deprecation and modesty, and the level of Japanese that he's using towards hugely famous person doesn't have to treat his fans in that way if he didn't need to, but the kind of spirit of gratitude that he feels because of the fans that he's been able to have a 50-year career and be one of the most famous television personalities and rakugo storytellers in Japan. So things like that, to be with him from morning to night and to get all of that is a completely unique experience. So doing a few chores, really, I feel like I still owe him a lot, is the way everybody feels in the end, yeah.
So what does it mean to you to bring this 400-year-old tradition here to the West and obviously to more audiences? What does it mean for you personally?
That's such a great question, because when I began 10 years ago with my first show at the Japanese Embassy in Canada, I thought, okay, I'm going to bring a little bit of this culture to Canada, but I didn't think it could become a hit Broadway show or something like that, right? But just touring the world, and mostly embassies and consulates of Japan in different countries, people were loving this storytelling tradition, and I wasn't changing it. It was like direct translation. I'm not fooling around. I'm not trying to see how would Americans react to this and change the script. Oh, how would Canadians? How would British, right? How would it go in French? I'm not thinking about that. Just direct translation. Do it as is. Speak English as if I'm speaking Japanese. And it's electric. People love it. And I think it's incredible because I don't think there are that many comic performing traditions, like stand-up comedy. Like, try doing that as is. Look, I'm Canadian. I go to London. I don't understand what's funny about half of what they're saying because it's so culturally oriented. Exactly. Same language, right?
Same language, but
it's incredible.
because it's across the ocean and we didn't grow up with some words, that's what makes the difference. Like the other day I was watching something that used Hoover, which means vacuum in Britain. Yeah. So it's one of those cultural things where you're like, oh, it's just words, but it's the same language. So now you're a very talented comic, as we discussed. So what comics actually influenced you, either Western or Eastern, as you were going into this process of becoming a comic?
Well, for the Rakugo, obviously, is my master and the other masters, and a lot of my older brother storytellers, older sister storytellers. All of them are unique, and what they bring, we're doing the same stories, but what each individual brings to the stories is amazing. So very heavily influenced by them, of course. As a humorist, I'm very influenced by Gilbert and Sullivan, so a lot of that musical theater and the clever use of words and that kind of thing. Right now, my favorite comedian in the world, stand-up comic in the world, is Bill Burr.
Yes.
I think he's a genius, and Rakugo is very much not Bill Burr. So my style, it's not like my style is anywhere near what Bill Burr does. Like, it's not influenced in that kind of, what would you say, in that kind of obvious way, but just that thinking and that attitude and that, I just think he's a genius, and I'd love to meet Bill Burr. I would love to have one beer with Bill Burr. So Bill Burr, if you're watching this, I want to meet you. I'll come see your shows, of course, but I want to meet you. I don't know if that'll work.
We'll see. I'll tweet it out once we get it up. Now, in your performances, you discuss the importance of statues and language and etiquette, and you present them in comedy. How hard is it for you to pull it off? Like when I watched your video, you discussed, hey, this is what a kimono means. This is the importance of it. Yeah. There's etiquette to it. There's a reason why I wear it. How do you get that off to a Westerner so that they understand how important the whole, only using 2 props for the entire presentation is? Like, how do you pull that off and also make it still comedic?
Yeah, in fact, that's a super question, because I'm not explaining this because I'm doing it in the United States or per se.
You do it everywhere.
Well, on Japanese Rakugo storytellers, the first part of the story is the explanation of culture, because Japan 300 years ago and Japan now are 2 different things. So there's points of culture, there's little details that you want to get if the audience knows it, they'll enjoy the story so much more. So the incredible thing about Rakugo is that the explanation of the art form is built into the art form. You don't go to a concert and the violinist spends 15 minutes explaining the history of the Stradivarius before they start, right? No other art form has this, but in Rakugo, the explanation's in there. However, we're trained, and this is part of the apprenticeship, you never just explain. It has to be, you explain while getting laughs. So you explain in a joking way so that the audience doesn't realize that they're getting an explanation. They think it's just material, they think it's a joke, they think it's just funny and quirky parts of culture that you're explaining. So that's part of the art form, yeah.
Alrighty, so are there any upcoming projects you want fans to know about at this time? Like we discussed, you're going to head out in April for your extended Broadway. You're going to go out to 2 more conventions this year. Are there any other upcoming projects you want fans to know about they can potentially check online or see in person?
So on Broadway, we're at the New World stages every Thursday and Saturday. I think I want to go to the end of 2020 if we can. Maybe as long as Cats, who knows? But if everybody that's watching will come out to New York and catch the show, that'll do a lot to help us extending the run. It's an open-ended run, which they do on Broadway. And the other thing, my biggest aim this year is to turn Rakugo into its own Netflix comedy special. So if Netflix executives are listening, along with Bill Burr, and you might be interested, please give me a call.
Alrighty, now is there any way we can keep up with you online? And a message to the fans that have been able to catch one of your shows.
Yes, online, my homepage is Rakugo, Rakugo, Rakugo.lol. I didn't know that was an actual thing. Like how you had .com was taken, but I found .lol, .laugh out loud. So Rakugo.laugh out loud. And a message to the fans. I'll tell them a message to the fans. We do a special. I'll do a greeting in Japanese and then translated in English. In Japanese, the greeting goes like this. 皆様ご来場いただきありがとうございます。厚く御礼を申し上げます。私、こう見えても落語家なんです。桂三氏。改め六代桂文氏の15番目の弟子の桂さんに輝くとけまして、桂三社員でございます。どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。In English, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. Sometimes English is shorter than Japanese.
Well, again, it's been wonderful to talk to you and learn about this storytelling. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Great questions, by the way. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming out.
Cheers. Thank you.
Yep.
Arigato. Bye bye.